Welcome back. I've got Ken Miller on the line. Ken, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you, Michael.
I'm really looking forward to this conversation. So thankful for you and the time you're going to spend with us today. So why don't you share a little bit about you and then we'll jump into the conversation.
Well, today I'm a business owner. I'm an author. I am a writer, and I also speak from the stages. I am a subject matter expert in the area of fundraising and what we call development. But I have a long and varied history, and maybe we'll get a chance to talk a little bit about that. But today, I'm pretty much an entrepreneur and business owner.
Yeah, and you get to do a lot of great things. I love obviously writing. And then, of course, and we're going to talk about your new book as well. But, the speaking aspect of I enjoy doing that so much because you get to meet some people all around the world and engage with them. And when you share, your story and, your history and all of that, it inspires, it provides hope, it gives all kinds of different opportunities for people because, as we briefly said during the pre-show, the world needs it. The world really needs something to look forward to or to remind people of how amazing they truly are. And everyone is. Everyone has gifts and skills. It doesn't mean we haven't had our challenges in life, and some of those challenges have been bigger than others. And your backstory, is layered with triumphs and challenges and overcoming some amazing odds and so I don't want to spoil too much about it, but why don't you share a little bit about your backstory and how you got to be where you're at today, and then we're going to segue that into the book. Although I know the backstory, helps feed the book. So why don't you share a little bit about that?
Sure. Sure. I'm 62 years old. I was born in 1962. My mom was a white female teenage runaway. She unfortunately got into prostitution. My dad was the pimp and the drug dealer, and this is in New York City. And I was put up for adoption, did 6 years of foster homes. I was adopted by Irene and Sam Miller. I moved to Alaska when I was 12 years old. I was precocious, and I ended up being a National Merit Scholar, accepted to Harvard, went to Dartmouth, got my degree. I always tell people I got a degree in fraternity with a minor in drinking. And so when I got out, I went to my first treatment center as my parting gift from Dartmouth College. I went into the corporate world. I was sober, did that for about 2 or 3 years. And then unfortunately, I relapsed and ended up doing about 20 years homeless on the streets. And when I mean homeless, homeless. I was the panhandler, I was the hustler, I was the individual that you probably would cross the street if you saw me on the streets of Seattle, Reno, Anchorage, Sacramento. I am also a three-time convicted felon, did many years behind bars in the penitentiary. But as of September 22nd, 2004, I've been clean and sober. So I just celebrated 20 years last year. And yeah, which is, believe me, wonderful for me, my loved ones, and society. And today I give back. That's what I do is I give back. Like again, I'm a business owner and I've been very, very successful. And but I've had a wealth of experience that I have come back from. Believe me, most individuals in my state don't come back. They're in prison for the rest of their lives. They're miserable in their active addiction, or they're dead. That has been my history, and I fortunately a lot of people I've lost along the way.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that too, about the prison experience a little bit,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
I know that, many people, unfortunately, even with whatever programs are available, and I'm guessing that varies from prison to prison,
Mhm.
the opportunities for the people that are incarcerated to, take advantage of some opportunities so when they are released from prison that they have an opportunity. But we see in many cases, time and time again, where people are incarcerated, they get released and then they're almost immediately back in because the outside world isn't safe for them because of a variety of different reasons, and so you see it time and time again where like, well, I have to do something so I, I can go back in. And because it's at least they know, okay, I'm going to be protected in there, but and there's so many nuances to that and what society needs to do a lot of work on to provide opportunities for those that have served time. They're released. Okay, well, let's do whatever we can collectively as a society to help these individuals so they don't have to go back in, don't have to make that choice because of a variety of different reasons. So when, during that time that you were incarcerated, and you mentioned it, a lot of people, unfortunately, don't make it out, or if they do make it out, they don't make it when they're out in public life. What were some of the experiences like in work in basically you seeing other inmates? Were you, because obviously you did the work, you did, through a variety of methods, you did the work. So when you were released, you're like, okay, it's time to turn the page on this and move forward. What were, from your observation, what were some of the characteristics that you saw in other fellow inmates that you thought, okay, when they are released, they're going to have a fighting chance and actually be able to thrive outside of the prison life? I'm curious, to what your insights would be on that. If you saw anybody in the time that you were in prison that you thought, okay, they've got a fighting chance to make it.
Unfortunately, I'm a subject matter expert on incarceration. Did three terms, 3 periods, like 3 terms. I did years behind bars. Um, it's first of all, number one, it's got to be a mindset. So let's talk about this. So first of all, if there's an organic mental defect, there's not very little we can do with that. There are people who are mentally ill, and it doesn't matter what you do for them in prison. It doesn't matter. If they're on their meds, they'll probably be fine. If they're not, they're going to have difficulties because they're making decisions based on an organic mental illness. So let's put those to the side. Number two, you have addicts. You have individuals that are alcoholics and addicts. And once they are released and they have access to alcohol or drugs, they're going to make really poor decisions because they have the inability to control the amount that they use. And under the influence of either drugs or alcohol, they'll make real bad decisions. That's me. Number three, you have individuals that have a mindset that they are not willing to go through the discomfort or pain of being a contributing member of society, period. I'm very frank on this. And that was me the first 2 times I went into the penitentiary. I just want to be a better drug dealer. That's what I wanted to do, or a better criminal, or a better addict. I did not. For the third time, I made a decision when I went into prison that if I was the same person coming out of prison that I went going in, because I did 3 years on the last bit, I'm going to have the same results, period. So I had to work on mental, I had to work on emotional, I had to work on physical, and I had to work on spiritual. Those are the 4 areas, and I worked on all of them. But let me tell you this. One of the main reasons that there's a high rate of recidivism is because individuals do not make a decision to change, period. They don't. And the reason why they don't, that's per person. That's literally per individual. I used to go to meetings, the anonymous meetings in penitentiary. To be 2 of us. There's 1,100 men on the yard, and a good majority of them have a drug or alcohol problem. I used to go to the counselor to work on the emotional. I asked her, how many people you have on your caseload? And she didn't really want to answer. She's a civilian, but she said, I have 2 out of 1,100 free. Go there for free to work on the emotional aspects or the secrets or whatever those things that are disturbing you, because you have a free trained counselor, and there's 2 people out of 1,100, but I'm one of the 2. I'm one of the 2 going to the AA or NA meetings while incarcerated. So it's unfortunately rare. Many people feel like this is their lot in life to be an individual that's going to continue. And then there's some people that you would meet that probably, other than one bad decision, would never be in prison. They're not really convicts, as we would call them. They're more inmates. So anyway, I can speak on that a while, but the key thing is I made the decision, and then I have gone in this past 20 years to potentially to talk to individuals so that they can make some decisions and also allow someone to know that another Black man believes in you as a person of color, as a male person of color, because a lot of times we don't see those role models.
Yeah, it's important to highlight that too. It's the the demographics of the prison system in our country is definitely slanted to black males, and there's so many reasons why, circumstances and whatnot. And again, as a society, it's a situation where if we could improve things outside of prison for humanity, then that will reduce, you know a bit anyway, the number of people going in. But as you had highlighted earlier, when it comes to mental health, um, it's just, the wiring in our brain is what it is. And if there's something from a chemical imbalance, or medically speaking, something is not what we would demonstrate as being normal, it's going to increase the likelihood that there's going to be some decisions and choices made that go against the rule of law. And then, of course, there's consequences when it comes to all of that. So after your third stint,
Mhm.
you've done all this work, and I'm not shocked, but still kind of saddened that of well over 1,000 individuals, that only a couple people made the choice to do that. And it makes me kind of curious what that other person ended up doing as well. But hopefully, they did whatever they could to live their ideal life, no matter where they are in life. But so you get released, you've done all of this work, and you're like, okay, it's a clean slate for me. And you decided, okay, what am I going to do? What were those first few weeks and months like for you? How, well, what were some of the things you did that obviously set you up to, where you are today and the success that you have today?
Number one, so two things in the first day. So what happens is when you're released from the penitentiary in the United States, usually you get what is called out money. So I had like $22 to my name after 3 years. I had a little box, and those are all the possessions I owned in the world. All go to what we usually call a halfway house, because you have an out plan, as we call it. And but there's these windows, and what I mean by windows is a window of time, and there's decisions that need to be made in that window. And there's a very important window, is usually really the first 12 hours of your release. And the first two times I took a left turn and went right back into the streets, even though I'm on parole. And so I, would have a warrant out for me because I'm right back in the mix. And when I got out this time, it took me about 2 hours to decide to take the right path and go to the halfway house. So that's number one. So I have that window, I make the right decision. Then the best decision I made in the first, let's say, 90 days is I called up a gentleman who said that he would sponsor me and work with me through the rooms of recovery. I called him up, he picked me up, we met, and we began working the steps outside the penitentiary. And literally, it's one of the best. And then I just was in a mindset that I was going to do the right thing to the best of my ability. And it doesn't mean I've made 100% great decisions, because I haven't, but I have not picked up a mind altering chemical volitionally on purpose at all. Okay. And that I don't want to use the word proud. That's been good for me and good for my loved ones.
Well, yeah, and it's extremely, extremely difficult not to. I tell people, when we talk about it, when it comes to alcoholism, that runs deep through my genetics, every branch, both sides, moms and dads. So I see it. I've seen the challenges it's created, the and the early
No,
loss. Early
Sorry
loss
to
of,
interrupt you on that,
yep,
Michael. It isn't difficult. And if
okay.
you go in with the mindset that it's difficult, after 3 years, I had a habit of not drinking or drugging. Now that was easier to do in a penitentiary. There's hooch in there. People do nutmeg, and I can tell you about nutmeg, but you can get high if you want to or you choose to. So when I got out, I have not been close to drinking or doing drugs ever. What I did have a difficulty is my interactions with individuals, okay? Because I came off the streets, I came off the penitentiary. And when I'm in an area of pain or fear, my reaction is to hurt you physically so that you don't hurt me first. And I had to work on that. It took a few years. And I also had to work on some other behaviors that were inimical to my well-being or the well-being of my loved ones. So the drinking and drugging wasn't difficult. I remained in the program. I'm in the programs to this day. I sponsor men. I've worked all the steps. I speak about the steps. Okay, I'm good there. That just gets me into the foundation or gets me into the game of life. Now, how do I interact with people? How do I treat people with respect? Do I do self-respect? How do I be a value added to society? And so I'm not that I wanted to correct you, but for me, the drinking and drugging part has not been the difficult part. It's my interactions and my skill set in my interactions with others.
It's, thank you for clarifying that and bringing awareness to that because it's a huge, huge component of it. So let's segue to your book. I always ask authors, it's like, okay, it's a time-consuming effort for sure to, write a book and do all the things you need to do in order to get a book out in the wild. But, what was kind of the motivation for you to write the book? And then obviously let's talk about what the book's about.
The motivation was everybody, you need to write a book. You need to write a book. You need to write a book. Can't tell you how many times I've heard that. What my skill set or what I can do is I understand every motivation for every act I've ever done. I understand why, and I can articulate that. A lot of people have stories, but they can't tell you why they did what they did. They can't tell you the antecedents or what preceded the action, okay, or the behavior. I can do all that. And I put those into the stories. And on top of that, what I've been able to do, especially in the book, is provide solution and examples of what I did to not do this again, to grow. And the things for people that are in the business world, people that are just trying to get personal growth and personal change. The stories are interesting. This is the other thing that I believe, yeah, I'll just say this. One of the things that makes me a little different is I have no secrets. I have no secrets. And because I have no secrets, I can describe and or talk about things that most men will not be able to talk about that. So by doing that, it allows individual man, if he'll talk about it and can do it in front of thousands of people or put it in a book, maybe I can take away the power, the negative power of secrets with one individual, a small group, or a large group. So the book is about my story. It's called Becoming Ken. And why do you say becoming Ken? Because I needed to become Ken. I needed to turn away from being the self-identification as addict, self-identification as ex-con, self-identification as drug dealer, as pimp, were all the things that I did on the streets or even outside the streets, self-identifying as angry Black man. No, I became Ken, which is a kind and gentle man today. That's who I am. I'm a kind and gentle man.
Yeah, and it's so important, and thank you for writing this book because excuse me, there are so many people that need it, and need to be able to have, you know, I don't necessarily courage, but it could be courage because there's a lot of people, you said with the secrets, they're like, yeah, because we don't want to be looked down upon. But if there's things that people are having difficulty with in their lives, it's a lot easier to walk alongside someone. You had, mentor coming, out of prison, and that person believed in you and wanted to help you. and help guide you, and you were open to it because you made the call. You had a choice. You could have went, you know what, I know how this goes, and you could have, made the turn and got back on the streets, and we probably wouldn't be having this conversation today if you would have chose that mindset. But you didn't, and I think the stories in the book are one to bring awareness, uh, hope, and also many books do this, where people can connect in a way where like, okay, that's similar to what I went through or what I'm going through, and I see that how Ken has become himself, and I love how you did that because often we do identify ourselves based on our circumstances or our choices instead
Mhm.
of you went on the discovery of, okay, who is
Who
Ken?
am I? Yeah.
Yeah, who am I? What do I want to be? And a lot of people, unfortunately, think as they get older in life that they can't do that. And I tell them, I've seen people reinvent themselves in their 80s, in their 90s, and uh, age is not the situation here. It's, you know, you feel it within. It's like a calling within saying, I want to become this person. And I may not be where that is yet, but I can at least see the roadmap here and understanding that there's twists and turns along the way. But you, you know what the outcome that you wanted to have for your life. And obviously, what it's done is it's created so many different opportunities, from the work that you do, the keynote talks and the speaking engagements, publishing a book. Yes, no matter how many books there are out there, I think the stat is, less than 3% of the global population ever publishes a book. So you are in finite company by doing this. And books connect people. The stories connect with people.
Stories.
And it can give them that, momentary thought of, okay, Ken did it, so can I. And they make some better choices for themselves, and it changes the direction of their life, which, as you know, has a humongous ripple effect on everyone around you. If somebody makes a change to better themselves, society benefits from that because of the things that they do, how they help, how they give, whatever they happen to do in life. It's beneficial to society, and you made that choice, and we as a society are extremely thankful that you did, because we all wanted you to become Ken, because what Ken does and Ken can do for people is something, as we said, at the beginning of the episode, is something we all desperately need. We need that hope and that inspiration, and that no matter what you're going through in life, um, you'll get through it with the right mindset, the right tools. Ask for help, people. Don't go it alone. And believe me, the ramifications of making those choices like that are humongous for all of us. So, love to hear your thoughts on that.
So it was very interesting. I was listening carefully to you. So what I talk about are decisions. We all have choices. The choices, we all had that. I had choices every time I got out of the penitentiary. I had choices every time I made a decision as a executive director. We talk about leadership. I could talk about leadership a while, but what is important is the decision, because the decision says I am going to entertain specific action because I have decided. Okay. So I made decisions. There's a series of decisions I made to be the person I am today. And one of the things that when I speak to individuals, and whether it's in a book, whether it's in the audible book, or whether it's from the stage, it's all about, it's to encourage and to inspire, to bring in the spirit or to bring in courage. Courage is a very important word. And what it means is the willingness to accept the possibility of pain. That's what it is. It's about pain. And when I'm courageous, I'm willing to accept the possibility. It doesn't mean it's going to come. And a lot of times when we've had to be courageous, we thought there was going to be some pain when we went into the boss's office, when we went to have that talk with our wife or our loved one, but it wasn't. Okay. But many times there is, but we're willing to accept that because we want what's on the other side. Okay. So if I can encourage you, because what I tell people all the time, sobriety is not painless. Life is not painless. You're going to lose loved ones. You're going to have setbacks. You're going to have financial difficulties, whatever it may be. Again, can we fail forward, moving toward the goal or the aspiration? And my thing is to understand, accept that there may be some pain, but we can get to the other side. And many times I'm a big one on, doing that not alone. A man of many mentors or a man of many sponsors or coaches or counselors is a wise man. Proverbs. And when we go there, I mentor. It's one of my passions. But I have mentors. I have generations of Black men mentoring other Black men, 4 generations of that happening. It's something I had set up years ago. And so my thing is seek counsel, take away the power of the secrets, and then real important is give it away, give it back. That's what this whole book is about. It's not a financial thing. It's so I can get on more stages and be able to share a message, whether I do it for free or they pay me. It doesn't really matter to me. I have done well. Okay, I'm successful. And I speak all over the country for free. And then I get paid for some of them. But it's be able to give back. And when I get off and the people come to me after the talk and say, hey, can we talk for a minute? Or they have tears in their eyes because I can't believe you said what you said from there, and I'm struggling with this. Come on, let's holler. Let's talk. Got time. And I am so grateful. I'll end with this one. But what's true gratitude? What's true gratitude? Is gratitude an action, or is it just a state of being that you say, oh, I'm in gratitude? Or my gratitude is to give to others. That's my gratitude because I am so blessed. I have so little pain in my life, it's ridiculous. I have some concerns, there's challenges, it's life, but I have so little pain, but I've created that world. And now it's up to me and my decision to give back.
I'm, for one, thankful that you made those choices. So, Ken, where can people find out more about you and all this amazing work you're doing?
LinkedIn, Ken Miller 84. If you are interested in the book itself, all you have to do is go to Ken Miller Speaks. I'm also going to put it in the chat. This is my book launch, which is May 19th, is my book launch. It's going to be online. And then I am doing my first book signing in Newport Beach, California on May 24th. But May 19th is the online. And again, and if anybody would like to entertain me for speaking, please contact me at Ken Miller 84 or at the link that's in the chat. And I would love to talk with you about talking more about what I have to offer.
That's awesome. I'll definitely have all that in the show notes. So, Ken, thank you for being you. Really appreciate you and loved our conversation today. Thanks again for being on the show.